Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. This is Joel Perez here for your official Monday Night Raw review. And here tonight, it is your official Raw review for the date of December 18th, 2017. And the big news coming out of this Monday Night Raw had to, of course, do with the announcement of the Women's Royal Rumble matchup. Now, before you start hating on me, I want all of you to listen. Because most people are just going to sit here and listen to me when I complain about the announcement of this matchup, because there are multiple things to complain about, and they're going to be like, oh, they're just anti-feminist, you misogynistic asshole. That's not the case at all. Because this is great for the women. This is absolutely fantastic for the women. It's great. It is great. But is it what they need right now? Is it really necessary right now with the cost that this is going to have to the Royal Rumble match itself? Is it really necessary? And the answer to that question is no. Because these women in no way need to have a Royal Rumble match. There is no reason that the women, just because they can, and they very well can have a Royal Rumble matchup. For all I know, they're going to put on the best Royal Rumble matchup we have ever seen. But do they need to do a Royal Rumble matchup? Do they need to go this far beyond the limit in order to prove that women can do just as much as men? No, they don't need to go this far whatsoever. It's not necessary. It's really not. And at the cost that this has, I mean, realistically, this waters down the concept of the Royal Rumble match significantly. The entire concept of the Royal Rumble matchup is that we see it once a year. It's this big matchup that we see once a year. You get one shot at it, and it's going to be a big matchup, so you better be watching. Now, this entire concept of a Royal Rumble has been watered down. An entire selling point of the Royal Rumble has been taken away. And that's the fact that you're only going to see this matchup one time a year, bro. Realistically, what are the selling points of the Royal Rumble? 30 men in the ring, and they're fighting for a opportunity, number one contendership for a championship at WrestleMania. Those are two of the selling points. But one of the selling points is most definitely that you only see this matchup once a year. And WWE has just completely eliminated that. And I feel like that completely waters down this matchup, because there's no need for the women to be doing this. There are other, more creative things that you can be doing with the women going into the Royal Rumble. There realistically are. And WWE is seemingly putting all their television at a halt. Why? Because they want to force this upon us. They really, really do. This feels very forced. This feels very ingenuine. Where when you did the Money in the Bank, it's like, alright, Money in the Bank is coming around, and I think we're ready to do this. It feels like WWE is doing this because it's history. We must do it. It's going to be iconic. It's going to be something to never miss. It's going to be the Women's Royal Rumble match. It felt like how they were building towards Charlotte versus Sasha in the Hell in a Cell match. It feels forced. It feels unnecessary. It feels like the focus is the women's revolution rather than, alright, we're going towards WrestleMania and we want to do something big, and we're focusing on that Women's Royal Rumble. We're focusing on the women. You're not focusing on the women. You're not focusing on the women's division. And that's my problem with this. This is not at all focusing on the women. At all. This is all about women's revolution, and the women taking a further step than they ever have before. Whatever happened to storyline? Whatever happened to your women's championship, which right now on Monday Night Raw seems to be non-existent? Who the hell is your women's champion right now on Monday Night Raw? If you told me right now that Alexa Bliss was your women's champion, I honestly wouldn't even believe that there was a belt to fight for in this women's division, because she hasn't defended the title in God knows how long, and the focus hasn't been on the title in God knows how long. And doing this Royal Rumble matchup seems to continue that trend, because while you're going towards this Royal Rumble matchup, it's not going to be, alright, we got a Royal Rumble matchup here, and it's going to determine the number one contender to the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. It's going to be like, alright, we got a Royal Rumble matchup here. It's history. It's Women's Revolution. It's Women's Evolution. It's this. It's that. It's all these key phrases that WWE wants to shove down your throat, because that's what they're doing, and that's what they've done in the past. It's going to be all these key phrases that WWE wants to shove down your throat so you can say that these people are making history, that these people are doing something amazing in the world of women, so they can get good PR. And realistically, is that necessary? No. Is it even the right thing to do? No, because instead of booking good television and making that your women's revolution, because realistically that was what your women's revolution was when it started. That was the women's revolution. It was Triple H in NXT giving these women storyline that they can work with. Now it just seems to be, alright, what stipulation can we throw in front of them that they haven't done before this time? Alright, what country can we go towards this time that the women have never wrestled in? What country can we go here? When can we do this? It's never, let's put these women in an insanely awesome storyline, and you know what? The match types, the stipulations, everything will come along with it. That's how it felt in NXT. You had Bayley and Sasha. Bayley and Sasha had this ridiculously awesome feud with some amazing storytelling. And you had an amazing matchup at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. And how did you follow that up? What came along with this feud? First, they focused on telling the story. They focused on giving us an awesome feud with Bayley and Sasha, building this feud up. And what came along with it? The first 30-minute women's Iron Man matchup. Because that's what they need to focus on. They need to focus on the storyline. That is an evolution to me, giving me women's wrestling that I actually want to watch, that I can actually invest myself in, bro. And WWE seems to be failing at that significantly, because it's, alright, let's throw them in a Hell in a Cell. Alright, let's give them the Money in the Bank matchup. Alright, let's give them the Royal Rumble. That seems to be what WWE is doing. And every single time they're shoving all these phrases down your throat. Women's evolution, women's revolution. The divas are now gone. No more divas. It's the women now, right? I mean, realistically, what does that have to do with anything when what you're seeing on television is absolutely rubbish? When what you're seeing on television is absolutely garbage. But you gotta keep all the feminazis out there happy, right? That's your main goal. First you keep them happy, and then you book the storyline. It's ridiculous. There's no reason for this Royal Rumble to be going on. It waters down the concept, the original concept that is the Royal Rumble, and with this, you're putting making history over making a women's division that actually has some legitimate competent names in it. That is what you're doing with this. That is what's wrong with this. Is it cool? Is it great? Could they go on and put on an amazing Royal Rumble matchup? Damn sure they can. And they probably will. But it's just the way WWE is presenting this to us. It's just what this matchup does and how it's not necessary. That bothers me. And I think that most of you can agree with me on that. I really, really do. And I'm not trying to come off as insensitive here, because the women do deserve to do as much as the men do. But when you're going this out of your way, I mean, this isn't a matchup that's going to injure the women. This isn't a matchup that the women need to do to prove that they can be just as dangerous, or to prove that they can do all these things that the men can do. We know the women can do a Royal Rumble matchup. But do they need to do a Royal Rumble matchup? Hell no. Hell no. It's just not something that is needed. And it affects a lot of things. It trickles down to a lot of things that just ruin the quality of the women's division. And that was so told. The story that I just presented to you, it was so perfectly illustrated by the fact that Stephanie McMahon, she announces the Women's Royal Rumble, and right after that, Raw goes off the air. No details whatsoever. Instead of telling us, alright, this is the way the match is going to work. There's going to be 20 women, 25 women, maybe even 30 women, even though I don't know where WWE is going to pull 30 goddamn women from, because there's like 20 women between Raw and Smackdown. So I don't know where they're going to pull 30 women out of their asses. But they didn't announce what these women would be fighting for. Would there be a title in there on the line? Are they fighting for the main event of WrestleMania? Or the women's championship matchup at WrestleMania, which is what I would be thinking. But maybe WWE wants to throw a curveball your way. Give me some details. Give me some details. Because quite honestly, they just told us this match is going to happen, and they left it at that. They left it at that. And it's absolutely ridiculous the way WWE is presenting this to us, and the way that they are making history over making quality television. That's my issue. That's my issue. I'm here to dissect the Monday Night Raws, the Smackdown Lives, the pay-per-views. I'm here watching each and every single week, and I'm watching this a different way than you are. I'm watching this to see, how's this going to work out in the long run? 10 years from now, or not 10 years from now, a year from now, when we look back at this Royal Rumble matchup, what are we going to be thinking? Are we going to be thinking, oh, this Royal Rumble match was great, so much history behind it, and blah, blah, blah? No. I'm going to be thinking, well, did that work? Did that work? Did that work in the long run? Where did this all fall apart if it was bad? Where did things come together if it was good? And in the long run, at least from right now, I feel like I'm going to be looking back a year from now and saying, I know where that Women's Royal Rumble matchup fell apart. It fell apart in the fact that WWE was not focusing their efforts on the women's division. It fell apart at the fact that WWE was more concerned with making history. So that is my problem with this, and I think a lot of you with a brain out there can agree with me on that one. So WWE announced the Women's Royal Rumble match here tonight, going on January 28th in Philadelphia. So there is that. We're going to discuss everything else on Monday Night Raw, because we had a whole 3-hour edition of Monday Night Raw here tonight. Not a good one. Not a good one by any means, but things did go on this show here tonight, and we will be talking about that. But of course, like always, before I do get into that, we have the plugs, and there's a lot of shit to plug from last week, because we had the Clash of Champions pay-per-view just last night. The review went up for that, so if you did miss Clash of Champions 2017 make sure to go check out the review. Or if you want an educated opinion on that pay-per-view, again, make sure to go check out the pay-per-view review. Went up last night, late in the night on Sunday. So make sure to go check that one out because it is up on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. Had a lot of fun making that review. Had a lot of fun talking about a show that I thought would be completely terrible and wasn't all terrible. So make sure to go check out your Clash of Champions review, as well as earlier in the day on Sunday, we had Behind the Mic episode number 49. We were talking huge news on there as well regarding Vince McMahon, who is looking, or at least per rumor, is looking to revive the failed XFL from back in 2001, I believe. So make sure to go check that one out. Of course, make sure to go check out the Clash of Champions preview and predictions if you want to know my mindset going into that pay-per-view. On Wednesday, we had a breaking news video on WWE and their announcement of their Mixed Match Challenge pay-per-view, or not pay-per-view, Facebook show that is coming to Facebook in January. So we're talking all the details about that, why that's happening as well. So make sure to go check that out. That went up last Wednesday. Still very relevant news. If you don't got the news on that just yet, make sure to go check out the video. Only about a 12-minute video. Shorter for what you usually see on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel, but informative as hell, so make sure to go check that one out. And of course, if you guys missed Monday Night Raw and Smackdown Live last week, make sure to go check out those reviews, the Go Home Show, the Clash of Champions, and whatever the hell happened on Monday Night Raw last week, because quite honestly, I cannot seem to remember. That's how much of a blur these shows are, but that is besides the point, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, make sure to subscribe to the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel for all the content regarding the WWE. Like I always say, if you have not subscribed yet, I do not know what you are waiting for. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. And the question of the day is, are you excited for the Women's Royal Rumble coming up in January? If you are, tell me why. If you're not, tell me why you're not. I'm clearly not too excited for this. Why? Because it screams WWE corporate agenda bullshit. But that is besides the point, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, go reply to the question of the day in the comment section below. Make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe, because for now we're going straight into your Monday Night Raw review. And Monday Night Raw here tonight was in Boston. No, not Boston. We were there last night for whatchamacallit, Clash of Champions. I believe we were in Providence, Rhode Island here tonight for Monday Night Raw. Very decent crowd here tonight, Rhode Island was, but a terrible edition of Monday Night Raw. My God, I believe I had this show muted for a good 30 minutes at one point. 30 minutes straight at one point. So this show was absolutely abysmal, as you can tell. My God, this show is god-awful in its current state. And to consider the amount of talent that you have on this show, you gotta be kidding me with that one. But the show started off with Kurt Angle, who came out and he welcomed us to Monday Night Raw, saying that last week Braun Strowman and Kane faced up to determine the number one contender for the Universal Championship, and that match went awry. So by the end of the night, he will have a decision as to who the number one contender is. Clearly that was not waited towards the end of the night to be announced. Why? Because Braun Strowman came out and said that he earned the shot at the Universal Championship and at Brock Lesnar, because last week he was the only one left standing. Kane came out saying that he has been wreaking more havoc in the WWE for the last 20 years, and Lesnar's list of victims is impressive, and it does include his brother, but it doesn't include him. So he will get his shot at Lesnar at the Rumble, unless Strowman is man enough to stop him. Paul Heyman came out, and Paul Heyman is so fantastic. I wish he would have cut a full-fledged promo here tonight, but it was just another quick paycheck for Lesnar and Heyman, right? Heyman came out and he said that this title conversation wouldn't be complete without the champion himself. So out came Brock Lesnar after the Paul Heyman intro, and he stepped in the ring, and Kurt Angle just quickly announced after Royal Rumble it will be Strowman, Lesnar, and Kane in a triple threat, because of course it is. This started a brawl where Lesnar clotheslined Strowman out of the ring and F5'd Kane. So Lesnar was out of there within 2 minutes of coming out, and he earned a quick paycheck here tonight. The Universal Championship match was announced. Now, I discussed this in further detail on Behind the Mic, but pretty much WWE could have gone a much better route about this, and I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say this. They could have done a lot better with Brock Lesnar and the men challenging him for the Universal Championship, because this matchup, I don't know if it's just me, which it's probably not, this matchup seems to be so goddamn pathetic, and it's probably going to be a train wreck, slow, boring, methodical. I see this match being, and I've said this before, I see this match being Brock Lesnar being laid out by some big power slam through a table or something early on in the matchup, and sleeping outside for 10-15 minutes while Braun Strowman and Kane have the most boring affair of all time until Brock Lesnar comes in the last 2 minutes, suplexes, F5's Kane, 1, 2, 3, bada boom shakalaka. Lesnar retains, and he's safe on the road to WrestleMania. That's what I see happening here. So this is absolutely abysmal. And on top of that, Kane fighting for a top title, the Universal Championship in 2018 at that point. My God, please give me some NyQuil, because that sounds ridiculous. And on top of that, I mean, realistically, do you really need to have Braun Strowman in the title picture where he's not going to come out successfully? Do you really want to see that? It will knock him down a bit in momentum. Not too much, but it's going to knock him down a bit. Only positive thing that this matchup does is that it keeps Braun Strowman and Kane out of the Royal Rumble, where if they were in the Royal Rumble, it would create this big vortex, because you're going to have to give Kane and Braun Strowman some eliminations. So it would create this big vortex if they are in the Royal Rumble, where they're going to have to eliminate a bunch of people. And you're not just going to eliminate a Braun Strowman like that without him getting some eliminations. You don't even want to eliminate Braun Strowman from a Royal Rumble. It just wouldn't look good. If Braun Strowman was in the Royal Rumble, that's the type of guy who I say has to win the Royal Rumble if he's in the Royal Rumble. Last year was a little bit different because there were all those behemoths in the Royal Rumble. Goldberg, Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin. You had Undertaker. You had Lesnar. So it made sense if Strowman was eliminated. But this year, I don't think you're going to have that big of a show at the Royal Rumble. So, I mean, having Strowman in there would have just made it a big vortex of eliminations that really don't need to be the case. It gives it a more even playing field for those smaller guys in there. So, it makes that a better matchup. It makes that more of a wrestling matchup. It gives opportunity for more men to go into that matchup instead of it just being Braun Strowman throws this guy out, Braun Strowman throws that guy out, until it takes like 6 men to eliminate him. And the same story with Kane. So it makes the Royal Rumble match a little bit better. But that makes no change, in my opinion, that you could have done something better with this regarding Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. You could have either had Seth Rollins go into a one-on-one scenario with Brock Lesnar, where Seth Rollins is diverting all his effort towards Brock Lesnar, and he kind of forgets about Dean Ambrose, who is his tag team partner, and that makes Dean Ambrose kind of jealous, and it makes him go crazy until he turns heel on Seth Rollins. You can do that scenario, or you could have done that scenario, or you could have done it where Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman came out. Paul Heyman says, hey, nobody can beat Brock Lesnar. I don't think 2 men combined can beat Brock Lesnar on Monday Night Raw. I mean, he beat Strowman, he beat Joe, he beat everybody who has stepped in front of him. He beat Styles, right? And have Kurt Angle come out and say, oh, you said Brock Lesnar can take on any two guys on Raw's roster? Fine, we're going to have two Fatal 4-Ways on Raw, and of course one of them will have Seth Rollins, one of them will have Dean Ambrose, and you can have Braun Strowman and Kane in the one with Seth Rollins, and then some other guy, let's say Elias. There's a Fatal 4 with Elias, Seth Rollins, Kane and Braun Strowman. Kane and Braun Strowman, they eliminate each other from the equation due to brawling, and then Seth Rollins can easily pin Elias, and he's on his way to the Royal Rumble. Dean Ambrose wins his Fatal 4-Way. He's on the way to the Royal Rumble, and then you have that interesting dynamic where Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins have to work together to take out Brock Lesnar, but at the same time, both of them want the Universal Championship. So in the end, it ends up being that Seth Rollins, in some way, due to some mishap, screws over Dean Ambrose, perhaps accidentally hits him with the knee, and that allows Brock Lesnar to hit the F5, and that costs both of them the matchup, and that little situation is more motivation for Dean Ambrose to turn heel on Seth Rollins, and on top of that, it makes sense because it gives Roman Reigns more incentive to go into WrestleMania wanting to kill Brock Lesnar because Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins are Roman Reigns' Shield brothers. So that would have made a lot of sense. But of course, WWE has to go with the most lackluster decision, the decision that leads to probably the worst matchup, instead of having something along the lines of what John Cena, Seth Rollins, and Brock Lesnar did in 2015 at the Royal Rumble. They feel the need to do this. More multi-man matches heading into 2018, believe it or not, and it doesn't seem to be very good. That's what I think of that. So, it's going to be Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, and Kane, and it just sounds terrible, bro. It really, really does. I do not know what WWE is thinking on that regard, but I mean, WWE can't seem to get anything right nowadays, especially considering what they did with the Women's Royal Rumble, and we will get to that in this review, but I just had to go on my rant on Seth Rollins, or Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, and Kane. And by the way, Brock Lesnar, that's how you earn your paycheck? You come out for 2 minutes? I wish I was paid that much for appearing on television for 2 goddamn minutes. My God. Anyways, Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe. Before the match even started, which it didn't get started, it was Jason Jordan who came out saying that he might not be the man Rollins was waiting for, but he has been asking for a match with Samoa Joe for 2 weeks. So Rollins will need to step aside because it's going to be Jason Jordan who's fighting Samoa Joe here tonight. Seth, he took the mic and told Jordan that this is not the opportunity he is looking for, and that's when Samoa Joe came out. And Samoa Joe, you can already tell, is a badass, especially on the mic. He said he's completely flattered. He feels like the center of the ball, that both Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins want to dance with him, but he will not dance with either of them because one of them can only fight him. So he proposes an idea. Why not have Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins face off against each other to determine who will face Samoa Joe? And I love the way Samoa Joe put it, to determine who will get their ass kicked and put to sleep by Samoa Joe, which is realistically what's going to happen if you're fighting to fight Samoa Joe. So he baited Rollins. He wasn't going to be fooled by Joe's plan to get both of them tired and beaten up, but Jason Jordan, the little dummy, took the bait and he pushed Rollins, and Jason Jordan himself baited Rollins into a match as Joe watched ringside. So it was Seth Rollins versus Jason Jordan, and I mean, this was a decent matchup. That's what you can expect between Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins. Both of them are great in the ring. Of course, you saw Jason Jordan and all his 50 different types of suplexes. You saw Northern Lights. You saw the German. You saw the back suplex. You saw the vertical suplex. My God, how many goddamn suplexes does this guy know how to do? You saw Seth Rollins with all his moves. He got the frog splash off the top. I believe he went for the Falcon Zero superplex combination, right? So, I mean, it was a good matchup. It was a good matchup. But in the end, this was all to set up a six-man tag later in the night, because it was Rollins who started arguing with Joe, took Jason Jordan, long darted Jordan into Joe. That took Joe out momentarily, but Rollins realistically hit Joe with the super kick, took Jordan, hit him with the V-trigger, so he pretty much handled anything. The V-trigger, or according to Michael Cole, the knee! And Seth Rollins won the matchup. So there you go with that one. But it was after the matchup that Samoa Joe got in the ring due to what Seth Rollins did to him, hit Rollins with the Uranagi, and then clothesline Jordan on the outside for his measure. So Samoa Joe ended up standing tall, and we went to a backstage segment back from the break. And what did we see? It was what just happened. We seen what just happened in the ring, and a furious Seth Rollins is backstage with Kurt Angle, and Dean Ambrose is with him. Where the hell was Dean Ambrose at ringside? Don't ask me. But Rollins, he doesn't care what it takes. He wants a match with Joe tonight. Ambrose tells Angle to put him on the list too. He wants Joe as well, because Joe screwed Ambrose when they were fighting for the tag titles, and this is straight from Ambrose's mouth, when they were fighting for the tag titles against the Europeans. My God, bro. My God. Anyways, Jason Jordan walks in, and he also wants Joe tonight. He says the line starts behind him. Ambrose tells him to get in the line. Angle says they will all have their shots later tonight in a six-man tag match, because it will be Rollins, Ambrose, and Jordan versus Joe and the Raw Tag Team Champions, The Bar, later tonight. The announcers talk about Woken Matt Hardy and how his feud with Bray Wyatt has continued on social media. We cut backstage somewhere to Bray Wyatt, and he talks about Matt Hardy. And there was no back and forth shit here tonight, but there was definitely a backstage segment for Matt Hardy later in the night, which I enjoyed definitely a lot more than what they did last week, but I didn't enjoy it more than what they did the first week. I still want to see, and I am still wondering where the Matt Hardy entrance is going to be. I want to see Matt Hardy make his full entrance, new theme music. I'm still wondering where King Maxwell are, and Queen Rebecca, and Senor Benjamin, and Vanguard 1, and the dilapidated boat, Skarsgård. Where are these elements of the Woken Matt Hardy character? I want to see them. That is a big part of what made this character unique, and they seem to be missing. And the only type of content I am getting from Matt Hardy right now is backstage segments. I want to see something more. I want to see in-ring confrontation. I mean, I want to see the crowd interaction to this gimmick. We're not seeing any of that right now. It's just backstage segments, and it's not working. At least it's not working as much as this should be working. I mean, realistically, yes, it is working. It is over. But it's not the way I would necessarily book it to get people excited for this. And I think you guys can agree with me on that. Anyways, Bray Wyatt was asking what we like about him. Is it the funny faces? Is it all the catchphrases? Is it the goofy laughing? Well, he's asking us what we find so appealing about Matt Hardy. He says, to make sure the right people get hurt, Matt and all of you. Wyatt says he will play if Matt wants to continue this little chess game they have going. Wyatt goes on and says the Great War must end and run. So we go to Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas versus Finn Balor. This match was literally nothing to pay attention to until Axel and Dallas started beating down Balor 2-on-1. But who came out to make the save? No one but Hideo Itami. And I popped huge for this. I was like, Hideo Itami, are they going to debut him on the main roster instead of in the Cruiserweight division? Yeah, you would have thought. It was Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas versus Finn Balor and Hideo Itami. This was literally nothing except Itami hitting all of his big moves to win. And I have some questions here. Why did Finn Balor need the help of Hideo Itami to beat Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel? He seems to have an easy-ass time with them in the past 2 weeks. Now he needs help to beat these two guys. I don't care if it's a 2-on-1 handicap match. He needs help now. You gotta be kidding me with that one. On top of that, I'm questioning why the hell Itami was able to come to the main roster and fight alongside Finn Balor, friend or not of Finn Balor's. Why he's able to do that, yet the rest of the cruiserweights are not able to do that, because it's apparently tomorrow night that Hideo Itami is going to be fighting or debuting on 205 Live. So why can't the rest of the cruiserweights surpass that weight limit and fight with the heavyweight divisions? I mean, I'd love to see a Cedric Alexander versus a Finn Balor. Why can't we see that? Why can't Cedric Alexander go beyond the cruiserweight division and challenge for a United States Championship? Why are they confined? Why is Hideo Itami the only one who's able to do this? Because I like that idea a lot of having the cruiserweights not just be confined to 205 Live, because 205 Live, the cruiserweight division in general, sucks cock, bro. It really, really does. Anyways, this debut of Hideo Itami, if I can even say his name at this point, this debut really was nothing special, bro. He just hit the GTS, and bada boom shakalaka, this one was over. He hit all his big moves, and there you go. The debut of Hideo Itami. Really nothing to get too excited about. Hideo Itami is the victim of bad timing. Ill-timed injuries is what Hideo Itami is the victim of. If he wouldn't have been injured that first time around in NXT, he would have been an NXT champion. He would have been in the WWE main roster by 2016, and he would have been doing big things, because he would have been up here way before the cruiserweight division even existed. Hideo Itami would have been huge, probably multi-time United States and Intercontinental Champion by now. That's not the case. He was injured the first time, and he was out for a year, came back to NXT, really nothing for him to begin with there, and to add insult to injury, to add injury to injury, he got injured again, and he was out for, another 8 months, I believe? So Itami has just been plagued with injury, and that not only affected his NXT run, but it affected as well his run and what his run could have been on the main roster, because now he's bound to 205 Live, and as we know, 205 Live is basically purgatory. It really is. So that very unfortunate situation for Hideo Itami, but I mean, what are you going to do? Maybe he will thrive in the cruiserweight division. I have no doubt he will become cruiserweight champion in no time, but realistically, I don't care. We move on here. This match, wrong notes. Cedric Alexander was interviewed by Renee Young, saying that he wants to be cruiserweight champion so bad, but he can't do that all in one night. And he got a second chance, and he plans to take full advantage of it. That leads us to Cedric Alexander versus Drew Gulak. Hey, look, Cedric Alexander did take advantage of it. He actually won this matchup, and it was pretty alright, but realistically, nothing too amazing. This match ended after Enzo walked off, looking at his phone, which distracted Gulak and allowed Cedric Alexander to hit the lumbar check for the win. So it will be Cedric Alexander versus Enzo Amore. Will Cedric Alexander win the Cruiserweight Championship? I highly doubt it. Do I wish he would? Yes, I really do. But is it going to happen? No, it's really not. It's probably going to go to Hideo Itami, and maybe in the future we can see Cedric Alexander versus Hideo Itami, and Hideo Itami can do some good things with that title, but again, I really doubt it. Anyways, Enzo backstage seen Nia Jax in the back. I guess it was her who sent him a text saying that she wanted to finish their talk. He was doing some smooth talking on Nia Jax, but that's before a nose-bloodied Drew Gulak walked up, informing Enzo of his failure, which made Nia Jax walk away, and Enzo yelled at Gulak, telling him that he did a lot of things wrong. Who cares? This cruiserweight division is absolutely goddamn terrible. Nobody cares about this Nia Jax situation. As a matter of fact, nobody cares about this entire cruiserweight division to begin with. And this is what WWE does to raise interest in this division. My God. Asuka versus Alicia Fox. Asuka squashed Alicia Fox. I actually think Alicia Fox got a little bit more offense here than she should have. Asuka should have won this immediately. And Alicia Fox actually got some offense on Asuka. Really, it shouldn't be happening, bro. Should not be happening. But anyways, Alicia Fox was made to tap out with the armbar. And something about Alicia Fox, is it just me, or does Alicia Fox have the worst tap out ever? How are you bad at tapping out? But when she does have to tap out, which is frequent, she barely taps out. You're supposed to quickly tap the mat or hit it hard. Hit it hard so people can hear you. She just literally flings her arm on the mat and you can barely tell it's a tap out. It is ridiculous. My God. Anyway, Samoa Joe. Moving on here. Samoa Joe and The Bar versus The Shield and Jason Jordan. This matchup was nothing but six-man tag rubbish. And I had this playing as background fodder that was on my TV while I was literally doing a million other things, bro. I was making plans to go see Star Wars tomorrow because I was not able to catch it in theaters when it came out or over the weekend. So I was making plans to go see Star Wars tomorrow. We were talking about all these different things, right? Anything but watching Monday Night Raw because this show is garbage. Anyways, Dean Ambrose apparently hurt his arm during this matchup, kayfabe by the way, and Rollins got hit with the bro kick for the heels to win. There was a backstage segment after this matchup. It was Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins who were backstage with Ambrose checking on his arm, with Samoa Joe and The Bar coming in, destroying Rollins, threw him into a wall, and then Ambrose for some reason had his arm in the crate, and Samoa Joe smashed the crate into, or the lid of the crate, or the roof of the crate. I don't know what the fuck you call it, but he smashed that into Ambrose's arm. And it was ouchie ouchie for Dean Ambrose. We also had a broken or woken Matt Hardy segment here tonight. This was absolutely blissful. Why? Because Matt Hardy's awesome. He literally had a chessboard on his setup and he was talking to a goldfish. I believe he had the goldfish in TNA. So that's the type of things I wanted to see. He was talking to the goldfish as if it was some ancient mythological character. I forget who. I didn't take notes on it because I was too invested in watching what Matt Hardy was doing this week. But it was absolutely hilarious. He was in full woken verbiage, right? Oh, that was more British than woken. But still, it was pretty cool. He was going off the reference that Bray Wyatt did earlier in the night with the chess game. And he had the chess pieces. And Bray Wyatt had 2 chess pieces. And Matt Hardy had a whole barrage of chess pieces. It's a whole woken army, right? But my problem is I want to see this woken army. Who's part of this woken army? Yeah, you got a goldfish there, but is there a King Maxwell? Is there a 4-year-old little boy running around with a crown and a scepter ready to pin anybody inside a WWE ring? Is there a Queen Rebecca ready to enter the women's division and delete those in the women's division? Is there a Senior Benjamin ready to build you a second goddamn living room or a second goddamn dining room in the Hardy compound? Is there a Vanguard 1 spectating all the enemies of Bray Wyatt, all the enemies of Matt Hardy from the distance? Is there a dilapidated boat, Skarsgård, to use to cover yourself while Jeff Hardy is hitting you with the goddamn flamethrower during the final deletion? I don't think so. I want to see all that. I want to see the lore. I don't just want to see Matt Hardy each and every single week in a backstage segment with some blue background. Yeah, the blue background looks good. It looks nice for a background of a YouTube video, but at the end of the day, it's not nice for the background of a WWE segment. And that's not just all I want to see. That's my point here. Matt Hardy, he's got it. He's got the verbiage down. He's got the cool essence of the gimmick down. But we need to see the lore, the rest of the gimmick down, the rest of the characters down, the entrance down. Please have this guy do an entrance on Monday Night Raw next week on the Christmas edition. That would be a blissful Christmas present for me. But besides that, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm loving seeing Woken Matt Hardy on my television. It's probably the best part of Monday Night Raw. Certainly was here tonight. Was the Woken Matt Hardy gimmick. Another thing that had me in absolute joy here tonight was the return of the Revival. And I know what some of you might say. Some of you might say, especially those part of the Bullet Club, you might say, fuck the Revival. But no, 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 no. We are Revival fans here, right here on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. They were back here tonight against Rhino and Heath Slater. And Titus Worldwide was spectating this matchup from the back with their new director of talent I don't fucking know. Anyways, Dana Brooke, she had a notepad. She was taking notes, probably on what recipe they were going to make at Titus Catering for the Christmas edition of Monday Night Raw. I don't know, but they were taking notes backstage, probably a matchup that the Revival is going to undertake going forward. Hopefully they do make their ways to a matchup with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, maybe even at the Royal Rumble if WWE wants to be blissful. If WWE wants to if WWE wants to start off on the right foot going into the new year, that's definitely what they would do. But realistically, it's probably what they're not going to do, which is unfortunate. But the Revival, they are back. Hopefully there will be no more injuries, and they did win their matchup back, because why would Rhino and Heath Slater win here? They made the blind tag, hit the shatter machine, and it was classic Revival. They hit hard, and they can go all night, and that's exactly what they did here tonight. We had Elias, and Elias is absolutely fantastic, man. He really, really is. He was trashing New England and Tom Brady and all of those folks. But the line that had me laughing my ass off was when Sasha Banks and Mickie James came out and they were standing next to him. And he's like, usually I don't like to be interrupted. But Elias, the ladies want to walk with Elias. That shit just had me goddamn laughing my ass off. Elias is such a great heel. Anyways, Bayley came by. Cringely, Bayley, same shit. She came by, offered to hug Elias. He just walked away. He took a step to the side and said, and that's exactly what you should be doing. Who wants a hug from Bayley at this point in time? Anyways, we went to the main event. It was the Absolution stable. Bayley, Sasha Banks, Mickie James, and this match basically didn't happen. It was a commercial break, 2 minutes, and they got the count out, or the disqualification, like Solomonster likes to say on his podcast. They were disqualified for kicking too much ass, because they kicked Sasha Banks' ass too much, right? So the referee called the match off, and they pretty much started beating down on Sasha Banks. Out came Nia Jax, single-handedly took out Absolution, hit a double Samoan drop on Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, which they pretty much no-selled. They were up right away after Paige took down Nia Jax. That brought out the rest of the Raw Women's division. That started a huge brawl, and that brought out Stephanie McMahon, and she gave us all this forced verbiage. She says, the women on Monday Night Raw and Smackdown Live have created history with those on the like of the fabulous Moolah and Mae Young paving the way, and all the women who have ever stepped in a WWE ring, bringing us one step closer. We've gotten rid of the term divas and replaced it with women. We've gotten Hell in a Cell matches, Money in the Bank matches. We've gotten this, we've gotten that. We were wrestling in Abu Dhabi, and what was the phrase that they chanted? We have hope, or this is hope. This is hope. And she brought all of that up, and she said that, yeah, that was all great, but we want more. Yeah, that all paved the way to a lot of things, but we want more. We're not stopping there. And she announces that January 28th, 2017, at the Royal Rumble, there will be the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. So there you go. There you go. Stephanie McMahon announces the Women's Royal Rumble. You know my thoughts on that. It's all forced verbiage, all forced garbage, and realistically, it is not necessary, and it is detracting from what should really be being done. Well, it would really be history, and it would be for WWE to finally put on some good goddamn television. That would be history in the making, if you ask me. Put on good television, and then I'll get behind this bagwagon of a revolution. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that has been your Monday Night Raw review here tonight. I hope you enjoyed each and every single thing that you heard here tonight. If you did, make sure to subscribe, make sure to smash that like button, and of course, make sure to reply to the question of the day. Are you looking forward to the Women's Royal Rumble matchup happening at the Royal Rumble in January? Why or why not? Make sure to answer that question in the comment section below, because for now, this has been Joel Perez. Make sure to go check out all the other content, Raw reviews, Smackdown reviews, pay-per-view reviews, NXT TakeOver special reviews, top 10s coming. I believe the first one will be on Wednesday, and we're going to be doing top 10 superstars of 2017, so make sure to expect that. If you want any of that content, like I said, make sure to subscribe, because we're here covering everything regarding the WWE right here on Ringside Wrestling. So for now, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Joel Perez, and I am out of here. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I will see you tomorrow for your SmackDown Live review.